On a night in San Diego, history is about to be made. From the humblest of beginnings, a journey commences that will transport a group into global icon status. On March 25th, 1983, Australian band INXS plays in the US for the first time. INXS forms in 1977 in the Sydney area, originally calling themselves the Ferris Brothers, since three of the members were Ferris brothers. The Ferris family relocates to Perth, 2,500 miles away, in 1978. The rest of the band soon follows, but 10 months later they return to Sydney and begin performing in clubs, often in connection with Midnight Oil, a more established band. In fact, it is a member of Midnight Oil's crew who suggests the name change to INXS. The band's third album, Shabu Shaba, peaks at number 5 in Australia and number 46 in the US, and prompts them to go on tour in the US. Their first performance at the Spirit Club in San Diego is to a crowd of just 24 people. They spend most of 1983 on the road in North America, opening for bands like Adam and the Ants, Stray Cats, Hall & Oates, The Go-Go's, and Men at Work. 4 years later, INXS's sixth album, Kick, propels the band into superstardom. Coming up, we'll learn more about INXS. We'll also learn about an important moment in 1983 that helps shape their sound and helps lead to their success. We'll also learn about the tragic death of a band member. And finally, I'll talk about my experiences growing up listening to INXS. Also, don't forget to check out Today in History in my Teachers Pay Teachers store. There's a link in the description. I apologize for the voice today. I'm feeling a bit under the weather. An important step in INXS's development occurs after a performance in Toronto during that first North American tour in 1983. It's there that they meet Nile Rodgers, and many of you will know Rodgers as a funk and soul artist, a record producer, and the co-founder of the disco band Chic. Anyway, Rodgers actually produces INXS's single Original Sin, which is released in December 1983, and it becomes their first number one hit in Australia and reaches all the way up to number 58 in the US. Daryl Hall of Hall & Oates, who had also worked with Rodgers, actually sings the backing vocals on the track. The success of the song causes the band to incorporate more funk and soul into their sound, and this helps to lead to some of their biggest hits later on in the 80s and 90s. The 1987 album Kick has sold 10 million copies worldwide. It hits number 1 in Australia, New Zealand, and Canada, and hits number 3 in the US. It produces 4 US top 10 hits and a memorable music video for the song Mediate, where band members flip cue cards featuring words from the song. I'll put a link to that music video in the description. One cue card features the date August 9th, 1945, a reference to the Second World War II atomic bomb. The video is an homage to a promotional film for Bob Dylan's song Subterranean Homesick Blues. INXS has continued success into the 1990s, but not quite at the level they hit with Kick and its 1990 follow-up album X. In November 1997, INXS's charismatic frontman and lead singer Michael Hutchence tragically commits suicide in Sydney. He is just 37 years old. The band has not performed publicly for nearly a year after Hutchence's death. In 2005, they actually release an album with a new lead singer named J.D. Fortune, who was chosen during a CBS reality TV show called Rockstar INXS. It was actually produced by the people that produced Survivor. And the album peaks at number 17 in the US. INXS's final album is 2010's Original Sin, which features covers of earlier songs, each featuring a different guest lead singer, including Pat Monahan of Train, Rob Thomas of Matchbox 20, and John Mayer. I was still in grade school when I started listening to INXS. We moved from a small town in south central Utah to the Salt Lake City area in 1985, which opened up a world of music possibilities for me. My older brother and I began listening to a new wave and modern rock radio station called KCGL, and this led to my brother purchasing INXS's 1985 album Listen Like Thieves. We basically wore out that cassette tape, and it is still my favorite INXS album. I then bought the band's previous album, The Swing, which features the song Original Sin that I talked about earlier. And eventually, between myself and my brother, we owned most of the band's albums. I actually decided to do my 6th grade country report on Australia because I was so into INXS in the mid-1980s. By the way, I'd love to know what country you did for your 6th grade country report. Let me know in the comments. My favorite INXS song has to be Don't Change from 1982's album Shaboo Shabba. I love the driving rhythm and I love Hutchins's spot-on vocals in that song. I include music playlists that tie in with events from my Today in History warm-ups in my class every day. Needless to say, INXS is heavily featured in today's playlist. Several of my fellow department members also use my warm-ups and playlists. A year ago, a colleague of mine, who is much younger than I am, mentioned at lunch how much she liked the songs from INXS on that day's playlist. I was genuinely confused. INXS. It took me a second to realize she meant INXS. Let's just say I'm proud to be exposing the younger generations to good music. Well, if you like what you've seen today, please be sure to like and subscribe, and know that there's another great Mr. Lewis video here and another great one right here. Thanks for watching.